this episode, I get to speak with fellow innovator Kat Casey, Chief Growth Officer at Reveal Brainspace. In this conversation, we speak about AI and how it will affect the legal profession and legal industry as a whole. She also provides tips on how to stay relevant through AI. Listen in for more. Before we get into this episode, we would like to thank our Season 4 sponsor, Affirm Investigative Solutions, your go-to litigation support company. Without them, we would not be able to keep upgrading and integrating new concepts to this growing podcast. If you would like to take your support further, feel free to hit the support button on our Let's Talk Paralegal website so we can continue providing quality and empowering content for you and all our listeners.
Hey guys, welcome to the Let's Talk Paralegal podcast. I'm super excited because at this time of the recording, it's actually our first recording for season 4. And I wouldn't have it any other way than to have the amazing Kat Casey with me today. We're going to go a little bit over the topic elephant of the room, and I'm quoting her on our pre-recording session. And it's going to be about legal technology, about AI, and really what it has or what it means for the paralegals and legal support staff members. So without further ado, Kat, welcome to the show. How are you?
Hello. So my name is Kat Casey. You might know me as the TECHNO Kat. I'm the Chief Growth Officer for a company called Reveal. It's AI for eDiscovery. But I'm just really passionate about teaching people about AI and technology, making something that can be a little scary, more approachable. I've been in the space for about 18 years. I clearly started when I was 3. I write and speak and talk a lot about kind of this crazy evolving world of legal tech that we're in today.
I know. And that's actually how we met. We both were on the same platform. We wrote an article together. And that's really, that's what I like to do, to bring, people, guests on my show that actually I have met before. We have a connection and we kind of we're in the same wavelength when it comes to that. But you're very modest because you do a lot of things. You're an advocate for your industry and the legal industry in a nutshell. You travel everywhere, because your message to you is very important to share with others. And thank you for having, me as well, right? And bringing me on those platforms in your journey. So let's talk about the elephant in the room. Let's talk about legal technology, AI, and really how the paralegal role or legal support staff tasks really integrate with this new technology coming out.
So unless you've been living under a rock, you have probably heard of this crazy thing called ChatGPT. I mean, there was a South Park episode about it and written by it. And it seems like it's really kind of hit the stage real quick. Like the ChatGPT came out in November and suddenly everyone's talking about not just AI, because we've been talking about that for a while, but something called generative AI. What the heck is that? Why should I care? And then suddenly there's lots of doom and gloom of, oh my goodness, robots are going to take over. And thankfully, that's not the case. Basically, ChatGPT is a flavor of AI that takes advantage of what's known as large language models. It's just better than older chatbots. It's a little smarter than what you get with Google, and it cuts out a lot of noise. But because it was easy to use, it's as easy as typing in like a Google box, people started adopting it. My nephew uses it, my mom uses it, my grandpa uses it. I use it before even Google anymore. So suddenly everyone's using it. And then when everyone was using it in their daily life, technology companies started integrating it. And then questions started to rise, like, AI is very good at doing some repeatable tasks. Does that mean my job's going to get automated? What does that mean for me? And so we're figuring those questions out now. But the good thing is it's still kind of garbage in, garbage out. And it's only as smart as the questions you ask it. Occasionally, I'll ask ChatGPT to write an outline for an article for me. I'm like, hey, write it like Kat Casey. 50% of the time, it does great. The other 50% of the time, it's decided I'm a pirate and it starts talking about pirate ships, matey, and arg. So you need a human there to guide it. Otherwise, I would have a lot of pirate-themed blog articles coming out, which would not be good.
No. I love it. And I love how you add humor to it, because definitely I'm a big believer of that. I feel like technology itself, just taking out the legal portion of it, is like that, right? Our case management softwares, our automation, software, even our phone systems, when they first started coming out through software, now that we can do calls and text messages and everything through, the luxury of our laptops. So that was a huge thing too. It's like, oh, wait, I don't have to have this bulky. I know, right? And our cell
on now?
phones. And I mean, really, I love, the fact that I don't have to have two cell phones anymore, right? I can have an app and have my business line right on there. I don't have to pay two separate services. And technology has always been there to innovate us, to make us I guess not harder, but to make us better workers and work a little smarter so that we don't need to take on all the tasks, right? But like you said, garbage in, garbage out. So you have to make sure, just like anything else, just like our automation systems creating our templates, if you don't have the correct spellings, if you don't have the correct jurisdictions on the pleadings, it's not going to spit out the correct information. So I feel like that's an important pinpoint and to highlight right now, especially in this horror story of everything. And of course the media and the news and the bloggers and the reviewers, they like to take this and twist it up a little, and really scare everybody. But give us like more I guess a high point of view, right? Because we may be using this technology, right? But where can we start about learning about such a monster, right? Because it's like, where do we ever begin? Like, I know I'm totally a Google fan, but I'm sure there's other ways that we can do it.
Sure. Well, in terms of like just AI and legal, it's been there for a long time. So there's like tech that's been there for 10 years that you can get a demo of and play around with. But if you want to start playing around with something like ChatGPT, you're not going to break it. Just you can download it on your phone or your laptop and start asking it low risk questions. So like I'm a bad chef, like just it's horrible, right? And so I was Googling a recipe that I've probably done 1,000 times, right? I was going to do like stuffed salmon, crab stuffed salmon. And I kept reading these people's life stories. It's 18 paragraphs. And I'm like, I just want to know the ingredients. So then I'm like, you know what? I'm going to ask ChatGPT. And it gave me two different ingredient lists, right? It was a lot easier. And so I started asking non-work questions, just kind of playing around with it, like, oh, who is the tallest person alive, or what are the best restaurants to go to in Key West, like just basically what I would normally talk with Google at. But in doing that, I started getting better at crafting questions that would get a good response from ChatGPT. And then I started using it a little to do kind of, all right, I'm going to write something. ChatGPT, what questions should someone be asking about a motion to compel? Or what are some questions people might have about PII? So I started like having a conversation with it. And so using it to research and using it just as a starting point, because ChatGPT sometimes, well, it BS's a little bit if it doesn't know the answer. It will make hallucinations. And there was an attorney who copy and pasted a bunch of citations into a motion without checking them, rookie mistake, got caught, got sanctioned. So you don't want that to happen, but you can use it to kind of get your gears going, to start researching. And some legal companies are bringing this sort of technology into their tools, but the best way to kind of get the ball rolling that you can do now for free is start playing around with the tech itself. A lot of the people who in 04, 5, 6 ended up being able to kind of leapfrog their careers were the ones who learned about legal tech and eDiscovery just by trial and error. And you've got an opportunity to do that again as a member of a case team and kind of be the sticky person who, hey, I actually understand ChatGPT, or I understand this technology. Let me help you guys.
Yeah, and I feel like that would add more value, right? Because the whole purpose of this conversation is because I get constant messages and emails like, I'm freaking out. What's the future of a paralegal? And I was like, you're fine. Like nothing's gonna happen. But you have to get with the program. You can't become a blockbuster, right? I always go revert back to blockbuster. They refuse to innovate. They refuse to, and then Netflix came out and Amazon came out, and that was it. They're gone. And so you can't blockbuster yourself. You have to really stay on top of technology, legal trends. You have to, we're human. We're made to evolve. We're made to learn and grow both professionally and personally. But I love how you said, just do it with the low risk, do something personal, do something, just as you would when Google first came out. It's the same thing, really playing with it. The more hands-on experience that you retain, the better it is that you can reproduce. And the more that you learn.
I will say, trust but verify. Like when I got a recipe, if it said stuff the salmon with, maraschino cherries, I would be like, that doesn't sound good, right? So you double check it, right? The model's based on this whole universe of human information. Some of it's BS. And so you want to make sure that you're validating it. And that's why for work and stuff, like, You may not want to use it for work stuff yet, but you want to understand how to use it. Trust, but verify always.
Oh yeah. And just like Wikipedia, right? Anybody can just put information out there. That's the beauty of it, I guess, if it is a beauty. But there's pros and cons to everything. So understanding that I understand about the verified, and I'm gonna share a little short story for the audience because I don't even think I've told them this because it was super recent. I had a client came up to me and they're like, I need you to write a brief for the Supreme Court. Okay. Yeah. All right. So they come in, they give me the list of the allegations, the list of the facts, the list of the parties. Like they give me everything, the template that they would like to utilize, like the whole 9 yards. And I'm like, this is the Supreme Court. So they went ahead and they didn't go to ChatGPT, they went to Bard, which is like the Google version of ChatGPT. For those of you that don't, I mean, I know Kat knows, but for the audience. And so they went to Bard and they're like, here's all the case law that, Bard found. And I'm like, oh, great. I'm in for a long run here. So I use my LexisNexis and Westlaw and all that stuff to verify that this actually, so lo and behold, shocker, some of them did not even exist. Yep. Okay. The case law that was there did not even exist. Some of them, it said that it said something, but it clearly did not. One of them actually said the complete opposite of what the case law was stating. And not to get into many details, some of it wasn't even relevant. Okay. Like it wasn't, I'm just like, no, this case law is for like, for example, personal injury, and we're working on a real estate, or vice versa. Like it has nothing to do with each other. It had no similarities whatsoever. And it just caused me more headache than none. I could have just done the research myself at that point. So again, it did have some good points, right? Like you said, right? It's 50-50. So it did come. Yeah, exactly. So it got me brainstorming. It got me looking into the specific case laws that actually existed. I was able to get like relevant information. So, it gave me like a little roadmap, and it gave me somewhere to go, right? It gave me a nice little argument. I was like, oh, that's actually a good way of, segueing to the argument and blah, blah, blah. So even though I had to verify, and I'm not even kidding you, about 20 case laws, it was pros and cons like anything else, right? And maybe it would have taken me longer, maybe not, but it did get the ball rolling, and it did get the gears going. So I agree with you on that.
That's a really good point though for folks listening. And like, I think what a lot of the media kind of scares people about is like there's going to be robo paralegals and robo lawyers automatically doing stuff. And what I've seen is, in the last 10 years for sure, it's more about augmented intelligence. So stuff that your brain interacts with data that the AI gives you, and that's a better result than just the data from the AI and just your brain. So if you can learn how to use the tech, you're more important in a AI universe than less important. And I think, the validation piece, learning how to prompt engineer and use Bard or use ChatGPT, that will make you stickier. But the human brain, your legal know-how, your ability to interpret, that's more important and more valuable than it was even before ChatGPT.
I love it. I love it. Just stay ahead of the game, and both the forces combined. Now I sound like a movie. But yeah.
I describe it like Iron Man, right? So everyone thinks Terminator's coming down, right? Just the robot gonna go do its own thing. And I'm like, no, it's Iron Man. Tony Stark is in his nice little suit. And if he's not using his Iron Man suit, it's in a closet. If he is, it makes him bigger, stronger, and better. But until then, like the suit doesn't do anything without him saying so. And so like it's if you're gonna be a Marvel movie, it's gonna be Iron Man. It's not going to be.
I'm taking that from you. I'm taking the Iron Man reference. We'll probably put it in the video for this recording. So tell me a little bit about Reveal, Brainspace, and kind of like what got you into this? Because I don't think I know this story, but really, what got you into this? And obviously, we're not trying to make this into an infomercial, but I'm actually really curious as to how Reveal came about.
Yeah, so I've been in the space for, like I said, 18 years. And so I decided when I was 12-ish that I could be a lawyer or a doctor because I was good at math and good at words. And, I'm like, if I make a mistake as a doctor, whereas I can appeal if I go legal, But so I've been in the space since then, my whole career. And I've been increasingly focusing on how the intersection of tech and legal. So how people can use tech and tools to get better results. And kind of the culmination of that's where I'm at now. So Reveal is a company that has the best visual AI and AI models that are kind of like a Netflix queue. You can literally click on it and be like, I want the sexual harassment model, and apply it. And so you're able to find and connect the dots in your eDiscovery doc review a lot faster using AI throughout. And they brought me on to kind of be the face and to talk about all the different ways AI, not just Reveal, but all sorts of AI and all sorts of legal tech can help people get back to doing what they like to do, which is the practice of law. And so, yeah, I've been kind of on a journey. I started talking a little bit about, the technology side of stuff, even though I have a philosophy background, 15 or so years ago, and I just started writing and speaking and getting more and more comfortable with it. And I think that's a good message for anyone listening. And that's like, hey, I'm not a tech person. I'm like, I'm not a tech person, and I'm the face of an AI company. It's doable. But yeah, so it's been kind of a roundabout journey, and I'm excited to be with Reveal because it brings all the different things I love to do together. I can travel the world educating about AI. I can kind of bring the insights from my, the case teams I work with on, hey, it'd be better if we could use it this way, or we could do this thing. So I can help evolve the technology. And I can be part of changing how the practice of law is. It's pretty exciting.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. And I love how you deliver the messages as well, right? Because it's one thing to be tasked such a task, but it's another for the deliverance. It's just like anything else in the world. So I appreciate that. One thing I always like to give my audience is a little takeaway. So if there's any tip or tricks that you may have that can help them on their day-to-day basis, what would it be?
Be curious and start playing around with this technology in low risk ways. If you want a recipe and don't want to read 18 people's life story, type it in Bard or ChatGPT. If you want to make a birthday card, maybe use Midjourney or Lensa and have the AI make a picture for you. If you're like me and you're not very artistic, but your brain thinks you are, it's great. But start trying it out. Go and listen to the webinars. It's really helpful if you know the right terms of art, so you can start talking and asking the right questions. That was what I did, in 0567 when I started my eDiscovery career, and I didn't know any of this stuff. So get curious, and then don't go it alone. Find a dork. I'm volunteering that likes and knows about this stuff, because they're going to be reading and up to speed and maybe able to point you in the right direction. So you're not just drinking from the fire hose on your own. There's too many fire hoses out there right now. You would just end up drowning. So don't go it alone, play around with it, and, don't be shy to ask questions, and, find a dork.
I love it. Find the dork. That was my favorite. We're going to post that on there. I love it. Thank you so much, Kat, for being on the Let's Talk Paralegal podcast. It's always a pleasure, sharing the room with you, whether it's virtual or physical. And I know this is not going to be our last conversation, but happy travels, because I know you're traveling everywhere. So, and thank you. Really, thank you so much.
My pleasure.